Welcome back. This is Steph from Cold Blooded Freaks, and today we are going over our top 5 reptiles that we think are actually going to start decreasing in value for the 2025 season. To start this and to share this episode, I will be handling one of my leopard geckos who I've had for many years now. I've had him since I was a kid. His name is Meathead. He came to me with no tail, and he regenerated this beautiful fat little tail you see. He is actually a type of larger leopard gecko. I don't see these guys often available, but to be completely honest, I'm not really sure what kind of leopard gecko he is. So if anyone knows, please feel free to comment, because I have a hunch on what he might be, but he is certainly not the average leopard gecko because he is much bigger. And let's get to what we believe is number 5. Very similar to this guy in popularity at one time, crested geckos were on the market and everyone seemed to be breeding them very quickly. They're very prolific, so I feel that unfortunately due to that fact, it's actually hurting the industry for them. I think that they are, even when you have a new gene that comes out, it's very easy for people to grab that gene and reproduce it very quickly into their collection and get a large number of babies out on the market very quickly. Crested gecko care is very easy as well, which makes them very desirable as pets, but I feel that they're not very handleable. Some people may disagree with me on that one, but I find that crested geckos, there's a lot of other types of geckos and lizards out there that are a lot more handleable for the younger kids that are looking for a pet, such as little guys like this. I do think that crested geckos are very beautiful. There's some beautiful colorations and genetics out there that are stunning. I just do unfortunately think that due to the fact that you can reproduce them so quickly, that makes their value go down very quickly. Moving on to number 4, brings us to the beautiful Palmetto corn snake. Though I absolutely love palmettos, I've always loved a good palmetto, I do think that they're going to continue going down in 2025 because a lot more people are breeding them. So as palmettos are very unique and they're very different, people are looking for very specific traits now in palmettos. Some palmettos have some genes that are mixed into them that actually give them some gray, orange, or even red speckles. And I think that there's just more people breeding palmettos because they are very desirable in the pet trade. Their care is very easy. They can be kept in a rack system or they can be kept in enclosures. So they're very desirable for breeders and pet trade. I do see the availability of palmettos increasing, so I do think that they're going to start going down in value. Moving on to number 3. I think that low-end ball pythons or low gene ball pythons are going to become less valuable this year as well. When I mention low-end ball pythons, I'm more leaning towards single gene animals, such as the pastel gene. Anybody in the ball python game knows that pastels don't tend to sell very well. And they're also one of the older genes in the hobby. Though they are beautiful, I think that with some combinations that you make, you're going to get some single gene animals that are thrown in there. If you breed multi-gene animals to other multi-gene animals, there's still a chance that you get a simple one gene animal. On Morphmarket alone, there's about 40,000 ball pythons listed. And a lot of those are low-end ball pythons. Unfortunately, one of the most beautiful ball pythons, pied ball pythons, have come down quite a bit in the last 2 years or so. There's more and more breeders coming into the ball python game. So I do think that low-end ball pythons are going to actually lower in price because there's so many of them being produced. Moving on to number 2, and this one's gonna get me some hate. Is Hognose, believe it or not. I have seen Hognose spike in popularity because they are absolutely adorable. Don't get me wrong, I have one of my own. I had to have one. They're absolutely adorable. They're cute little faces, they're spicy little personalities, and their beautiful coloration. I just think that there's so many of them on the market right now, and you can breed them fairly quickly once you grow them up. They produce pretty decent sized clutches, and they can produce twice a year. So it does make them highly prolific, and the genes that everybody is working with tend to be going towards the really orange, bright colors. Genes that include the sunburst, I do think are very popular for people to breed because they are selling very well due to their beautiful coloration. Also, one of the things with Hognose is they are on the small side for a reptile or a snake. So sometimes people really do like a smaller snake because it's more handleable. I do think that the Hognose will continue to do well. I just think that the prices will slowly come down because there is so many available and more breeders are getting into breeding them. So with that, there's going to be a lot more Hognose available this year, I feel, and the number value is going to go down. Moving on to number one. Number one for me would have to be Burmese pythons. These guys are absolutely awesome snakes. They're very large, which makes them a little bit of a con in some people's worlds. You can't necessarily have a lot of berms unless you have a lot of space. So, though they can be the puppy dog of the reptile world due to their size, that unfortunately it just means that once you have one, you probably don't need a lot more. But one of the things I've also noticed, because I am personally obsessed with them, is the pied berms. They come in all different levels of pattern versus white, and I do think that the pied berms have come down a lot in one year, so I'm interested to see how they come down this year. One of their other cons is that they do have very large clutches of babies. So when you have a breeder that has been breeding when it was het pied to another het pied, now you can have more and more breeders that are breeding pied to pied, and you can get a bunch of pieds that are going to be flooding the market. And one of the biggest cons for a Burmese python, unfortunately, is the fact that there is a lot of states in the United States that are trying to ban them because they can be invasive in tropical or warmer climates such as Florida, where they're actually being hunted. So I do think, as beautiful as they are, and I do think a lot of people are going to want them, I think their prices are going to go down because there's going to be a lot more available. Thank you for joining us. Let us know in the comments if your 5 are similar to our 5, and if not, which ones would you replace with what we have listed? Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.